The meeting room was filled with aliens from across the galaxy. Each one looked different, but they all shared the same expression: fear. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the back of the room, wondering why he had been called here. He was just a cargo pilot, nothing special. But the message from the Galactic Council had been urgent. They needed a human, and they needed one now. A tall alien with 4 eyes stepped forward. His name was Krelthon, and he represented the Vexian Empire. His voice shook as he spoke through the translation device. 17 colonies destroyed, 4,000 people dead, 3 entire fleets wiped out. We have tried everything to stop this creature. Nothing works. It learns from our attacks. It grows stronger every time we face it. Jake leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He had been pulled from a simple job near the edge of known space 3 days ago. Nobody had explained anything until now. The alien's words made him uneasy. Krelthon looked directly at Jake. We know that humans have a strange way with dangerous animals. You make friends with creatures that should kill you. You bring predators into your homes. No other species does this. We think this difference might help us. Jake raised an eyebrow. You want me to be friends with this thing? Another alien spoke up. Her body was made of crystal that reflected the lights in the room. Her name was Mireth. We want you to kill it. But humans think about predators differently than we do. Maybe that will help you succeed where we failed. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. The creature was massive, at least 12 feet tall. Its body was covered in black scales that seemed to swallow the light around them. It had 6 limbs with claws as long as knives. Its tail was lined with sharp spines. The head was the worst part. 4 golden eyes stared out above a mouthful of teeth that looked like broken glass. Beautiful, Jake said quietly, not meaning for anyone to hear. The room went silent. Krelthon made a clicking sound with his mouth. Beautiful? Captain Morrison, this thing has killed thousands of our people. I didn't say it wasn't dangerous, Jake replied, walking closer to the hologram. But look at it. Everything about this creature is perfect. The muscles, the scales, the way it's built. This is what happens when evolution gets it right. Evolution? Mireth's voice sounded like wind chimes. Captain, the Ravager is not natural. It was made in a laboratory by the Vorlath people as a weapon. When their civilization died, it escaped. It has been killing for 70 years. Jake walked around the hologram slowly, studying every detail. Before he joined the space fleet, he had worked with wild animals back on Earth. Bears, wolves, mountain lions. Everyone said those animals were too dangerous to help. They had been wrong every time. You said it learns, Jake said. Tell me more. Krelthon brought up reports on the screen. After 3 fights, it learned how to deflect our energy weapons. After being poisoned once, it became immune to toxins. It can survive in space for short periods. Worst of all, it studies how we fight and uses that knowledge against us. So it's smart. Dangerously smart. Jake turned to face the council. What do I get for this job? Name your price, Mireth said. A new ship. Advanced weapons. A position on this council. Whatever you want. I work alone. No soldiers following me. No one watching over my shoulder. I do this my way. Agreed. And when I'm done, I decide what happens to the creature. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Krelthon spoke carefully. Captain, the creature must die. It's too dangerous to keep alive. Then we have no deal. Jake walked toward the door. Wait, Mireth called out. Fine, we accept your terms. But understand this, if you fail, if this creature keeps killing, your planet Earth will be responsible. Jake stopped and looked back. I don't plan to fail. Hours later, Jake stood in the docking bay looking at a small data device the council had given him. It contained everything they knew about the Ravager. Attack patterns, biological data, even the original plans from when it was created. The creature had been designed to be the perfect weapon. It combined the deadliest features from many different species. It could heal quickly, adapt to any environment, and was strong enough to tear through metal. The Vorlath had done their job too well. That's probably why they were all dead now. Some weapons are too good at what they do. But something in the files caught Jake's attention. The pattern of attacks had changed over the years. At first, the Ravager had destroyed everything in its path randomly. But recently, the attacks were different. It targeted military bases but avoided civilians. It destroyed ships but left the escape pods alone. It was learning to hold back. Jake looked at the most recent report. 3 weeks ago, Vexian soldiers had cornered the Ravager in an asteroid field. The creature had disabled 4 ships but killed nobody. Then it disappeared into deep space. Not what a mindless killer would do. Jake muttered. His communicator beeped. Lieutenant Casey Brooks appeared on the screen. She had served with Jake for 2 years. "Captain, I heard about your new job. You can't seriously be going after that thing alone." "I'm not going after it," Jake said. "I'm going to meet it." "There's a difference." "Sir, this isn't like those wolves you saved back home. This is a living weapon. Casey, every dangerous animal on Earth was called a monster until someone understood it. Bears that attacked campsites were just hungry. Wolves that killed livestock were just trying to survive. This thing was made to kill, yes. But maybe killing isn't all it wants. What if you're wrong?" Jake smiled sadly. "Then I won't live long enough to regret it. Take care of the crew. I'll contact you when I can." He ended the call before she could argue. The data device showed the Ravager's last known location. The coordinates led to unexplored space, far from any colonies or stations. Dangerous territory filled with dead worlds and dangerous conditions. The perfect place to hide. Jake entered the coordinates into his small ship, the Wanderer. It was fast and packed with sensors but had few weapons. He wasn't going hunting. He was going to talk. As the Wanderer left the station and jumped to light speed, Jake looked at the hologram of the Ravager one more time. Those golden eyes looked back at him, intelligent and aware. "Let's see if we can communicate," he said to the image, "because I think you're tired of running. And I'm tired of watching people fear what they don't understand." The ship hummed as it raced into the unknown. Inside was a human who believed that even the galaxy's most dangerous creature deserved a chance at something better than being hunted forever. The unexplored regions of space were as dangerous as everyone said. Jake's ship sensors screamed warnings constantly. Radiation storms, gravity wells that could crush a ship, and clouds of debris from long-dead worlds. Jake navigated through it all with steady hands and focused eyes. 3 days into his search, he found the first real clue. An old mining station floated in the darkness, its outer hull torn open like paper. The damage looked exactly like what the Ravager's claws would make. Jake brought his ship close and put on his spacesuit. Inside the station, weak emergency lights flickered. There was no air left. The crew had escaped before the attack. Jake moved through the dark hallways, his helmet lights cutting through the shadows. Claw marks covered the walls, each one deep and precise, but something seemed wrong. The damage was severe, but the important systems were untouched. The Ravager had destroyed the defenses and broken through the hull, but it hadn't touched the power reactor or life support machines. It had disabled the station without destroying it completely. In the control room, Jake found the security system still working. He downloaded the files and kept exploring. The cargo bay showed more interesting details. Supply boxes had been torn open, but only certain things were taken. Medical supplies, food proteins, water filters. "You're hurt," Jake said out loud, his voice echoing in his helmet. Back on his ship, he watched the security videos. The Ravager had come 6 days ago, moving with clear purpose instead of random rage. It had broken in, fought the automated guns, and then carefully searched the supply areas. The video showed the creature limping, favoring its left side. One image made Jake stop. The Ravager had paused in front of a shiny metal panel, staring at its own reflection. For 30 seconds, the creature just looked at itself. The expression on its face looked almost sad. The trail led deeper into unmapped space. Jake followed, finding more evidence. Another abandoned station, this one a research facility. Same pattern. Disabled but not destroyed. Supplies taken, no deaths. The scientists had run away before the Ravager arrived, warned by their computers. Jake studied the path. The Ravager was going somewhere specific, stopping at these places to get supplies along the way. But where? The answer came when Jake compared the route to old star maps from the Vorlath civilization. There was a planet, not marked on modern charts, that had once been a Vorlath colony. If the creature's genetic memory included knowledge of its creators, it might be trying to reach the one place that had answers. Jake set his course, pushing his ship's engines hard. He reached the planet 4 days later. It was gray and green with large oceans and scattered land masses. Scans showed no working technology, just ruins everywhere. The Vorlath were truly gone, but the Ravager was here. The ship's sensors found a heat signature on the northern continent, near what looked like a massive temple. Jake landed 5 kilometers away, not wanting to startle the creature. He checked his equipment. A scanner, a translation device, emergency medical supplies, and one small weapon he hoped he wouldn't need. Most important, he brought food. Real meat he had made during the trip. If the Ravager was hungry, maybe food would be a better greeting than empty hands. The temple rose from the jungle like old bones. Huge stone buildings covered in plants surrounded a central pyramid that reached hundreds of meters high. Jake walked toward it on foot, his scanner tracking the heat signature to the pyramid's base. He found the Ravager in what used to be a great hall. The creature lay on the stone floor, its huge body barely fitting in the space. As Jake had guessed from the videos, it was injured. A deep wound along its left side leaked glowing blue blood. Jake stopped at the entrance, keeping his distance. The Ravager's head lifted. Those 4 golden eyes locked onto him immediately. The creature's lips pulled back, showing those glass-like teeth. A low growl rumbled through the hall, so deep Jake felt it in his chest. "Easy," Jake said softly, turning on his translator device. He had no idea if the Ravager understood language, but he had to try. "I'm not here to hurt you." The growl got louder. The Ravager tried to stand but fell back down. The injured leg couldn't support its weight. The creature's tail whipped around in frustration, smashing against the old stone. Jake slowly set down his pack and pulled out the meat. The Ravager's eyes followed the movement. Its nose twitched. "You're hungry," Jake said, "and hurt. I can help with both, but you have to trust me. Just a little." He put the meat on the ground and stepped back. The Ravager watched him for a long moment, then painfully dragged itself forward. It sniffed the meat, tasted it with its tongue, then ate it in 3 huge bites. Jake pulled out more. "There's plenty more. I'm going to come closer now. I want to look at that wound." He took 1 step forward. The Ravager tensed but didn't growl. Another step. The creature's eyes never left him, but it seemed more cautious than aggressive. Jake kept moving slowly, talking in a low, calm voice the whole time. "I worked with wolves back on Earth," he said. "Beautiful animals that people didn't understand. Everyone thought they were monsters. But they were just trying to survive in a world that feared them." Another step. The Ravager's breathing was rough. The wound was clearly causing pain. Jake could see infection around the edges, a greenish color that looked bad. "I knew a wolf once. I called him Gray because of his fur. He'd been shot by a farmer and left to die. I found him in a cave just like this, scared, hurt, ready to fight anyone who came close. But I sat with him, gave him food, let him see I wasn't dangerous." Jake was close enough now to see the intelligence in those eyes. The Ravager wasn't just an animal. There was real thinking happening behind that gaze. Understanding, feeling. Gray lived with me for 3 years. He never fully trusted humans, but he trusted me. And you know what? He chose to stay even after he healed. Not because I trapped him, but because he wanted to. Jake knelt down, still several feet away, but close enough to see the wound properly. It was deep. Probably from an energy weapon based on the burned edges. The infection was spreading. "That needs to be cleaned," Jake said. "It's going to hurt badly. You won't like me for it. But if we don't treat it, you'll die." And I didn't come all this way to watch that happen. The Ravager's eyes narrowed. For a moment, Jake thought it would attack. Then slowly, deliberately, the creature laid its head back down on the stone floor. An invitation. Or maybe acceptance. Jake pulled out his medical supplies. "This is going to sting," he warned. The Ravager roared when Jake put disinfectant on the wound. The sound shook dust from the ceiling. Its claws dug into the stone floor, leaving deep grooves. Its tail thrashed violently, but it didn't attack. It held still, trembling with effort, and let Jake work. 20 minutes later, the wound was cleaned and sealed with synthetic skin. Jake had used half his medical supplies, but the infection was stopped. The Ravager's breathing came easier now, less painful. Jake sat back against the opposite wall, exhausted. The Ravager watched him with what might have been curiosity. "So here we are," Jake said. "The deadliest creature in the galaxy and the foolish human who thinks he can help it. The Council wants me to kill you. Did you know that? They think you're too dangerous to live." The Ravager made a sound softer than the growl, almost like a question. "Yeah, I told them that wasn't happening. You're not just a weapon. You're thinking, feeling, choosing. I saw you at that station looking at your reflection. You're wondering what you are, aren't you? Vorlath made you to kill, but that doesn't mean killing is all you're meant for." Jake pulled out more food and tossed it gently to the creature. The Ravager ate more slowly this time, enjoying it rather than just consuming. I'm staying here tonight, Jake said. I need to watch that wound. Tomorrow we figure out what comes next. But I want you to know something. When I look at you, I don't see a monster. I see someone who's been running their whole life, trying to escape what they were made to be. The Ravager finished eating and settled back down. Its eyes slowly closed halfway. As Jake watched, the creature's breathing became steady and peaceful. For the first time since escaping 70 years ago, the deadliest beast in the galaxy rested without fear. Jake smiled and prepared for a long night. Outside, the alien moon rose over the ruins, casting silver light through the broken roof. In that ancient hall, a human and a weapon designed to kill began an unlikely friendship that would change everything. Jake woke up to find the Ravager staring at him from across the hall. Not with anger, but with what looked like curiosity. The creature's wound looked much better in the morning light. The synthetic skin was holding and the green color was already fading. "Morning," Jake said, stretching his stiff muscles from sleeping on stone. "How's the leg?" The Ravager stood up, testing weight on the injured limb. It still favored the leg slightly but could stand now. The creature took a few careful steps, then sat back down, seemingly satisfied. Jake made a simple breakfast for himself and offered more meat to the Ravager. As the creature ate, Jake studied it more carefully. The scales weren't just black, he realized. In the right light, they showed deep blue and purple colors. The glass-like teeth were actually clear, creating interesting light patterns. Every part of the Ravager was both beautiful and deadly. "I want to understand you," Jake said. "The file said you were intelligent, but they didn't say how much. Can you understand me?" The Ravager tilted its head, just like a dog might do. Then it did something Jake didn't expect. Using one huge claw, it began drawing in the dust on the floor. Simple shapes at first, then more complex patterns. Jake recognized them after a moment. Star maps. The creature was showing him where it had been. "You can communicate," Jake said, amazed. "Why didn't you ever try with the council?" The Ravager made a harsh sound that might have been a laugh. Then it drew more images. Ships firing weapons, creatures running, explosions. The story was clear. The Ravager had tried to communicate. The other species had shot first and never asked questions. Jake felt anger rise in his chest, not at the creature but at the council. "They never gave you a chance." The Ravager drew one more image, this one more detailed. A symbol that Jake recognized from the Vorlath records, the mark of their science group. Beneath it, the creature drew something that looked like a question mark. "You want to know why they made you?" Jake said quietly. "You came here looking for answers." The Ravager's eyes met his, and Jake saw something that shocked him. Hope. This creature, built to be the perfect killer, was searching for meaning beyond destruction. Jake spent the next several hours exploring the temple, with the Ravager following at a careful distance. The creature's limp got better throughout the day. The wound was healing impossibly fast, probably part of its design. In what used to be a laboratory, Jake found something valuable: data storage devices that were still working. The Vorlath might be gone, but their records remained. He carefully took 3 of the devices and brought them back to the main hall. "I need to get these to my ship," Jake explained. "My ship can read this data. We might find your answers there." The Ravager watched as Jake packed the devices, then did something surprising again. It moved to the temple entrance and looked back at Jake. The message was clear: lead the way. They traveled together through the jungle, an unusual pair. Jake kept his hand near his weapon out of habit, but he didn't feel threatened. The Ravager moved with surprising grace for something so large, moving through the thick plants with ease. Several times it stopped to look at interesting plants or animals, showing curiosity that didn't match its reputation. When they reached Jake's ship, he hesitated. "I need you to trust me. I'm going inside to study these devices. You can't fit in the ship, but I'll leave the door open. I'm not trapping you or calling for help. You can leave whenever you want." The Ravager settled down next to the ship, watching the entrance. Jake took that as acceptance and went inside. The data devices were old but working. The ship's computer spent hours decoding and translating the information. What Jake found made him feel sick. The Vorlath hadn't just created a weapon. They had created a thinking being, and then deliberately stopped it from communicating. The Ravager had been designed with intelligence so it could learn and adapt in combat. But the Vorlath had put genetic blocks to prevent it from developing language or forming bonds. They wanted a thinking weapon, not a person, but the blocks had broken down over time. The Ravager had been gaining more freedom, more self-awareness for years. Every attack the council had written about was actually the creature trying to break free from its programming while being hunted for doing exactly what it was made to do. Jake stepped out of the ship and found the Ravager waiting patiently. "I know what happened to you," he said, "and I'm so sorry." He pulled up a holographic display from his device and showed the Ravager the records. The creature watched closely as Jake explained what the Vorlath had done, how they had built something intelligent and then tried to cage its mind. When Jake finished, the Ravager made a low, sad sound. It reached out with one huge claw and gently touched the hologram, tracing the image of the scientist who had designed it. "They're gone now," Jake said. "They can't hurt you anymore. But those genetic blocks? They're breaking down. You're becoming more than they ever planned. You're becoming yourself." The Ravager turned those golden eyes to Jake, and in them he saw a question. "What happens next?" Jake said, understanding. "That's up to you. The council wants you dead. I'm supposed to bring back proof that I killed you. But here's what I think. You deserve a choice, maybe the first real choice you've ever had." Jake sat down on his ship's ramp, putting himself at eye level with the creature. "Option 1. You disappear. I tell the council you're dead. I fake the evidence. You stay here on this planet or find somewhere else to hide. You'd be alone, but you'd be free." The Ravager's expression suggested that option wasn't good. "Option 2. You come with me. Back to human space, not council territory. Earth has rules for intelligent beings seeking safety. It won't be easy. People will be scared of you at first. You'll have to prove you're not the monster they think you are, but you won't be alone. I'll be there. And I think once people understand your story, you'll find others who'll stand with you." The Ravager thought about this, then drew in the dirt again. This time it drew a simple image. A human figure and a creature standing side by side. "Together," Jake said. "Yeah, I'd like that too." The creature extended one claw toward Jake, palm up. A gesture of trust. Jake stood and placed his hand against the huge claw, feeling the warmth through his glove. "We need to give you a name," Jake said. "Something better than the Ravager. The Vorlath called you Specimen 17 in their records, which is terrible. How about Ash? Because you're rising from the ashes of what they tried to make you." The creature, Ash, made a rumbling sound that seemed like approval. Over the next 3 days, Jake and Ash learned to communicate better. Jake taught basic hand signals while Ash showed its own ways of expressing ideas through drawings and gestures. They discovered that Ash could understand spoken language far better than it could speak. The genetic blocks had affected making sounds but not understanding. Ash's intelligence became clearer with each passing hour. The creature could solve puzzles, understand complex ideas, and even showed humor. When Jake accidentally tripped over a root, Ash made a huffing sound that was definitely laughter. But there were darker moments too. Ash had nightmares, thrashing in sleep as it relived whatever pain the Vorlath had caused. Jake learned to sit nearby during these times, talking quietly until Ash calmed. The creature began sleeping closer to the ship each night, as if Jake's presence brought comfort. On the 4th day, Jake made a difficult call back to the council. He kept it short and used a scrambled signal. "This is Morrison. I found the Ravager. The situation is more complicated than you told me. I need more time." Counselor Myrith's crystal face appeared on the screen. "Captain, you've been silent for 7 days. What complications?" "The creature is intelligent, aware. It was trying to survive, not randomly attacking. I'm working on a peaceful solution. Captain Morrison, your orders were clear. The creature must be killed. With respect, Counselor, my contract says the creature's fate is mine to decide. I'm deciding differently. If you protect that thing, Earth will face problems. Then I guess we'll deal with that when it happens. Morrison out." He ended the call before Myrith could respond. Ash had been listening from outside the ship, understanding enough to know the conversation hadn't gone well. "They're not going to make this easy," Jake told Ash. "But I meant what I said. Your fate is your choice, not theirs. We'll figure this out." Ash drew in the dirt again, the symbol for Earth and a question mark. "Will they accept you?" Jake translated. "Honestly, I don't know. Humans have made mistakes with beings that are different. But we've also learned from those mistakes. And I know some people back home who will see what I see when I look at you." That night, Jake sent coded messages to 3 people. Lieutenant Casey Brooks, his friend Dr. Helen Martinez at the Biology Research Center, and Ambassador Richard Hayes at Earth's government office. He explained everything: provided the Vorlath records as proof and asked for their help in preparing a safe place for Ash. The responses came back within hours. Casey was doubtful but supportive. Helen was excited and eager to help prove Ash's intelligence. Richard was worried about politics but agreed to start preparing. "Looks like we have a team," Jake told Ash. "Not everyone will be on our side, but we have enough to start." Ash placed a claw on Jake's shoulder, gentle despite its size. The gesture was clear gratitude. Jake smiled. "Come on, partner. Let's go home." Jake's ship wasn't built to carry passengers as big as Ash, but he made it work. He cleared out the cargo bay, removing equipment they didn't need and creating a space where Ash could rest during the trip. It wasn't comfortable, but Ash didn't complain. The creature seemed more interested in staying close to Jake than worrying about comfort. Before leaving the planet, Jake did one more sweep of the temple. He collected more data devices and took detailed scans of the laboratory. If they were going to prove Ash's intelligence to doubters, they needed every piece of evidence they could get. Ash watched the planet grow smaller behind them as the ship left orbit. Jake noticed the creature's body language, the way its eyes stayed on the world that had almost been its grave. "No answers there," Jake said quietly. "Only what you were. Earth might show you what you can become." The journey to human space took 2 weeks at the ship's best speed. Jake used the time to continue Ash's education. They worked on communication, with Ash learning more hand signals and even beginning to make simple sounds. The genetic blocks were definitely breaking down. Each day, Ash showed greater ability to express itself. Jake also taught Ash about human culture. He showed videos of Earth, explained social customs, and most importantly, introduced Ash to the idea of pets. "This is Max," Jake said, showing footage of his sister's dog. "Dogs came from wolves, animals that once competed with humans. But we learned to live together, to trust each other. Now dogs are part of human families. We love them, care for them, and they do the same for us." Ash watched the video closely, then drew a question. "Could Ash be like Max?" "Not exactly," Jake said carefully. "You're not a pet, Ash, you're a person. But the relationship? The trust and partnership? Yeah, I think we can have that." On the 5th day, they got their first trouble, a council patrol ship, responding to orders to stop them. Jake didn't run. Instead, he opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Morrison. I'm on a diplomatic mission to Earth. Stand down." "Captain, you have stolen council property," the patrol commander said. "Return the creature immediately." "The creature has a name. It's Ash, and Ash is not property. Ash is an intelligent being seeking safety. That thing is a weapon. It has killed thousands." Jake looked at Ash, who was listening with clear distress. "Wrong. Ash was used as a weapon by its creators. Every death was either self-defense or happened while Ash was still under the Vorlath genetic control. Ash is a victim, not a criminal. Captain Morrison, you must stop now or we will open fire." Jake's hand moved to the weapons controls, then stopped. He looked at Ash and saw the creature shake its head. Ash moved to the cargo bay window where the patrol ship could see it clearly, then raised all 4 arms, claws open. A gesture of surrender. "Ash, no," Jake started, but Ash was already making hand signals. "No more killing. Not for me." The patrol commander's voice came through, confused. "Captain, what is the creature doing?" Jake swallowed hard. "Ash is telling you that there's been enough violence. Ash doesn't want anyone to die because of this." There was a long silence. Then the commander spoke. "Captain, continue your course. We will follow you to the neutral zone boundary. After that, you're Earth's problem." The patrol ship moved into formation beside them, weapons ready but not aimed. As they traveled, Jake noticed the patrol crew watching Ash through their windows. Some looked scared, but others seemed curious. At the boundary, the patrol commander opened one final channel. "Captain Morrison, for what it's worth, tell the creature good luck." Jake smiled. "You can tell Ash yourself. Ash can hear you." Another pause, then the commander spoke directly. "Good luck, Ash." Ash placed a claw against the window, and what Jake had learned was Ash's version of a wave. The patrol ship broke away and headed back to council space. The next challenge came from Earth itself. As they approached the outer planets, Jake received an urgent message from Admiral Patricia Collins, commander of Earth's defense fleet. "Morrison, we've been told about your situation. Permission to approach Earth is denied until we can determine the threat level. Admiral, Ash is not a threat. I have extensive proof of intelligence and peaceful intentions. Captain, You're asking us to welcome a weapon that destroyed multiple colonies. I have family on those colonies. Give me one good reason not to destroy you." Jake looked at Ash, who was watching with those intelligent golden eyes. "Because Ash is watching this conversation, Admiral. Ash understands you're afraid. Ash understands you want to protect your family. And Ash is willing to accept any reasonable security measures you need because Ash doesn't want anyone else to be afraid." Ash moved into view of the communication screen and performed careful gestures. Hands open, head bowed, body lowered. Submission, peace, respect. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. "Dr. Martinez speaks highly of you both. She's prepared a secure facility at the Biology Research Center. You'll land there under military guard. Ash will be confined while we check your claims. Any sign of aggression and we will respond with deadly force. Understood?" "Understood, Admiral." "Thank you." 6 military ships met them at Mars orbit. They kept their weapons aimed all the way to Earth, but Jake understood. From their view, he was bringing the galaxy's deadliest creature to humanity's home. Dr. Helen Martinez was waiting at the landing facility, a secure building in what used to be Montana. Jake had known Helen for years. They had worked together on several first contact situations. If anyone could help prove Ash's case, it was her. The ship landed in a reinforced hangar surrounded by automated guns. Jake came out first, hands raised to show he was unarmed. Then Ash appeared, moving slowly and carefully, keeping movement small and non-threatening despite its size. Helen approached without fear, her eyes bright with interest. "Jake, when you said you found something special, you really meant it." "Helen, meet Ash." "Ash, this is Dr. Helen Martinez. She's going to help us prove you're who I say you are." Ash bent down, bringing its head level with Helen's, and extended one claw in greeting. Helen took it without hesitation. "Hello, Ash," she said clearly. "I'm going to run some tests over the next few days. Nothing harmful, just thinking exercises and communication tests. Is that okay?" Ash signed clearly. "Yes, thank you." "Did it just thank me?" Helen asked, amazed. "Ash has been learning hand language," Jake explained. "Understanding is almost perfect. Speaking is getting better every day." Over the next week, Helen tested Ash with every tool she had: problem-solving, reasoning, emotional understanding, even art. Ash passed everything at levels that exceeded most intelligent species. The real breakthrough came on day 4, when Helen gave Ash digital art tools. Given a tablet designed for beings with claws, Ash began creating images that were hauntingly beautiful. Landscapes from the planet, abstract ideas, and most telling, portraits of Jake. "This changes everything," Helen said, watching Ash work. "This isn't copying behavior. This is genuine creative expression. Ash isn't just intelligent. Ash is an artist." But not everyone was convinced. Ambassador Richard Hayes brought difficult news on day 6. "The Council is pressuring Earth to return Ash," Richard explained in Jake's temporary room. "They're threatening trade limits, even military action. They claim Ash is too dangerous to exist." "They're afraid," Jake said. "Afraid of what Ash means? If a weapon can become a person, what does that say about how we define thinking beings? The President wants to speak with you, and with Ash, tomorrow, in front of the full government. This is your chance to make the case, but Jake, if this goes wrong, they'll have Ash killed and you'll face criminal charges." That night, Jake sat with Ash in the containment room. The space was large but empty. Nothing like the freedom of the planet or even the cramped cargo bay. "Tomorrow is important," Jake said. "You'll need to show them what you've shown me. That you're not the monster they fear." Ash drew on the tablet. "What if they're afraid anyway? Then we deal with it together. But Ash, I need you to understand something. I'm not giving up on you. Whatever happens, I won't let them turn you into a weapon again or kill you for being what they made you to be." Ash set down the tablet and wrapped one huge arm around Jake, pulling him into something like a hug. The gesture was awkward given their size difference, but the emotion was clear. Jake hugged back as best he could. "We've come too far to fail now, partner." The next morning, they were taken to the Capitol under heavy guard. The government room was filled with the most powerful people on Earth, all there to decide Ash's fate. President Lisa Martinez called the meeting to order. "Captain Morrison, you've made incredible claims about the creature known as the Ravager. This government will decide whether those claims are true enough to grant safety to what many consider the galaxy's most dangerous being. You have 1 hour. Make it count." Jake stood and Ash stood with him. Together they began to present their case. Jake's presentation was careful and passionate. He showed the Vorlath records, explained the genetic blocks and how they had broken down, and presented Helen's test results. But the real convincing came from Ash itself. Using the digital tablet, Ash created a visual story of its life. The early years as a mindless weapon, controlled by programming. The slow awakening as the genetic blocks failed. The confusion and fear of becoming self-aware while being hunted. The attacks on colonies shown from Ash's view. Desperate attempts to survive, to find supplies, to understand what was happening. Then Ash showed images from the past weeks with Jake. The temple on the planet. The journey to Earth. The kindness of one human who had chosen to see a person instead of a monster. Secretary of Defense Gregory Palmer spoke first, his voice hard. This is all very touching, but it doesn't change the facts. Thousands are dead, colonies destroyed. How do we know this isn't manipulation? How do we know Ash won't go back to violent programming? Ash set down the tablet and did something unexpected. It took a medical scanner from the equipment Helen had provided. With careful movements, Ash scanned its own brain structure and displayed the results for everyone to see. Helen gasped. Ash is showing us the genetic blocks. They're almost completely gone. There's no way to go back now. What you see is who Ash has become. And who is that? President Martinez asked directly, looking at Ash. Ash drew on the tablet, working quickly. The image that appeared was powerful in its simplicity. A bridge between two different beings, one human, one not, meeting in the middle. Ash wants to be a bridge, Jake explained. Between humans and other species. Ash understands what it's like to be feared, to be seen as nothing but a threat. Ash wants to use that experience to help others understand each other. That's a good goal, the president said, but it doesn't address the real concerns. Where would Ash live? How do we ensure public safety? How do we handle the council's demands? I have a proposal, Jake said. He pulled up a new presentation. There's a wilderness area in Alaska. Thousands of acres with no human homes. Ash could live there with few restrictions. I would live there too as Ash's advocate and companion. Helen's research center would do ongoing studies to document Ash's development and prove continued intelligence to any doubters. You'd give up your career for this creature? Palmer asked in disbelief. Ash isn't a creature. Ash is my friend. And yes, I'd give up much more than my career if necessary. Ash placed a claw on Jake's shoulder, a now familiar gesture of support. Ambassador Hayes spoke up. As for the council, we tell them the truth. Ash is under Earth's protection as an intelligent being seeking safety. If they want to contest that, they can bring their case to the Galactic Court. But I think they won't. The story of how they hunted Ash without ever trying to communicate wouldn't look good for them. The government talked for hours. Jake and Ash waited in another room, neither speaking, both lost in thought. Finally, they were called back in. President Martinez looked tired but determined. This is possibly the strangest decision I've made as president. But after reviewing all the evidence and talking with our legal experts, we've decided to grant Ash temporary safety. Jake felt relief wash over him. Ash made a sound of joy, a musical trill that none of them had heard before. The conditions are strict, the president continued. Ash will live in the Alaska wilderness under monitoring for at least 2 years. Monthly checks of thinking ability and behavior. No contact with unauthorized people without supervision. And Captain Morrison, you'll be legally responsible as Ash's guardian. Any problems, any incidents, and this decision will be reviewed immediately. We accept, Jake said without hesitation. Ash nodded agreement. There's one more thing, Helen added, stepping forward with a small device. I've developed a voice helper. It won't give Ash a human voice, but it will allow better communication. If Ash is willing to try it, Ash looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. Helen carefully attached the device to Ash's throat. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Ash's mouth moved and a voice came from the helper. Artificial, but clearly Ash's own. Thank you, Ash said slowly, each word carefully formed. All of you, for seeing me. The government members reacted with visible shock. Palmer's expression changed from doubt to something like wonder. President Martinez smiled. Welcome to Earth, Ash, she said. Try not to eat anyone. Ash made that huffing laugh sound. We'll try. No promises. The room burst into surprised laughter, the tension finally breaking. 3 months later, Jake stood on the porch of a cabin in the Alaskan wilderness, watching Ash play in the snow. The creature had adapted to the cold climate immediately, the thick scales providing excellent protection. Ash had even figured out how to make snow shapes, though they were more like snow monsters given the size difference. Helen visited weekly, continuing her studies and helping Ash develop speaking abilities. The voice helper had improved dramatically, and Ash could now hold relatively complex conversations. More importantly, Ash was developing a clear personality, curious, gentle, with a surprising sense of humor. The galactic community had reacted with mixed feelings to Earth's decision. Some species praised humanity's compassion, others warned of danger, but the Council had indeed chosen not to pursue the matter legally, especially after independent investigators reviewed the Vorlath records and confirmed Jake's version of events. Casey Brooks visited, bringing news from Jake's old unit. "They're calling you the guy who befriended the unkillable monster. You're kind of famous." "I didn't befriend a monster," Jake said, watching Ash successfully build a snowman. "I befriended someone who needed a friend." That evening, as the northern lights danced overhead, Jake and Ash sat together on the cabin's large reinforced deck. "Happy?" Jake asked. Ash thought for a moment before responding. "Yes, but also scared. What if I am still dangerous? What if they are right to fear me?" "You know what I think?" Jake said. "I think the fact that you worry about that proves you're not dangerous. Monsters don't question themselves. People do." "You gave up much for me," Ash said. "Your ship. Your career. Your normal life," Jake laughed. "Normal is boring. Besides, I didn't give up anything. I gained a friend, a purpose, and the best view in the solar system." Ash was quiet for a while, then spoke. "The Vorlath made me to be a weapon. You helped me become a person. What do I become next?" "Anything you want," Jake said. "That's the beautiful part about being free. You get to decide your own story now." "Want to help others," Ash said. "Other created beings, other misunderstood species. Want to show them they can choose too. Then that's what we'll do. Together." Ash wrapped an arm around Jake's shoulders, and they sat in comfortable silence, watching the lights paint the sky in brilliant greens and purples. Somewhere in the forest, wolves sang their evening song. Ash listened closely, then attempted a response. The sound that came out was nothing like a wolf's song, but the wolves answered anyway, accepting this strange new member of their wilderness home. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Ash gave its first public interview. Major news networks from across human space watched to hear the weapon speak for itself. The interviewer, a veteran journalist named Sandra Cole, approached carefully but with genuine curiosity. "Ash, let's be direct," Sandra began. "You were created to kill. Thousands died before you came to Earth. How do you live with that?" Ash's response was measured, the voice helper capturing the emotion. "I remember every death, every face. When I was controlled by programming, I could not stop. Now that I'm free, I choose to carry that memory, not as excuse but as reminder. Those lives matter. Their loss matters. I cannot bring them back, but I can ensure their deaths mean something by becoming different than what I was made to be." "What do you say to those who fear you? Who believe you should have been killed rather than given safety?" "I say they are not wrong to be afraid. I was made to be fearsome. But fear can be starting point, not ending point. I hope that in time, through my actions, I can show that what we are made to be is not same as what we choose to become." The interview became widely shared. Opinion pieces filled the networks, some praising Ash's words, others maintaining that mercy toward Ash was misplaced. But something had changed. Ash was no longer just the Ravager, the monster from the dark. Ash was a voice, a perspective, a person who had faced impossible circumstances and chosen to be better. A year into the Alaska arrangement, a visitor arrived from an unexpected source. The Vexian Empire, whose colonies had suffered the most from Ash's attacks during the controlled period. Representative Krelthon, the same official who had first proposed hiring Jake to hunt Ash, requested a meeting. Jake was doubtful, but Ash agreed to see him. They met in a secure facility with armed guards nearby and Helen watching. Krelthon entered cautiously, his 4 eyes fixed on Ash with clear fear. "I came to see for myself," Krelthon said, his voice shaking, "to see if the reports are true. If the Ravager has truly become something else." "I am Ash," Ash responded calmly. "I am not proud of what I did to your people. If I could change the past, I would. But I cannot. I can only work toward a different future." Krelthon was silent for a long time. Then he said something Jake didn't expect. "I lost my mate in one of your attacks. My children lost their mother. I came here hating you.